Today's episode is brought to you by Share, Inform, Enlighten, which empowers individuals and communities through diverse perspectives, literacy promotion, and essential resources. From thought-provoking discussions to life-changing workshops and scholarships, we inspire growth, creativity, and connection. Join us in making a difference, one story, one skill, one step at a time. To learn more, visit our website at shareinformenlighten.org. Welcome to Conversations with Verdel Jones. We are about turning your passion into purpose, turning your passion into action, living with intention, and making an impact. I'm your host, Verdel Jones, and I'm thrilled that you have joined us. Let's get started. Welcome. Today's guest is Dr. Pepper Martin. She is definitely a powerhouse. She's an author, she's an educator, she's a speaker, and a pastor as well. She has a passion for helping others and spreading the word about the urgency of bringing awareness to human trafficking. She's also the CEO of Women Intended for Excellent, W.I.F.E.
Yes. Yes.
Incorporated.
Yes.
So I am so excited to have you here today. It is a pleasure. Pepper, we have talked on the phone numerous times,
Yes.
but this is the first time we've actually seen each other, and I'm so happy that you're here, and especially to discuss this topic. It's so important.
Absolutely.
So you are the CEO of Women Intended for Excellence, Incorporated. What motivated you to create this, and how does it empower women and the people that are around them?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm equally as excited to be here with you and particularly to talk about this. So W.I.F.E. Incorporated is an agency that I started even before I became a pastor. I was already in ministry, and I was actually, the moment that really compelled me to create an organization was I was invited to speak at a women's event in New York City. And it was very successful. And people were coming up to me after and talking to me. What I did not expect was that, and it was a church, and the pastor's wife came up to me and began to whisper in my ear and said, just keep looking straight ahead and just pretend like I'm greeting you just like the other people. But I'm actually, based on what you've ministered, I need your help. And she's saying this, she said, keep smiling. Keep smiling, because her husband was there. And I did as she asked. She said, could you please help me get out today? I have a to-go bag
Oh my goodness.
underneath the pew. And I just felt that today would be my day, based on this being a women's event. And I said, okay. And she says, you have no idea. And she's talking to me, just, and then I'm hugging her. And it just looked like we're having a very lengthy embrace. But she's having a full conversation and crying profusely and saying, I had no idea of what I was preaching in my sermon was going to hit home.
Wow.
And she was so grateful that she felt as though that God led her to bring her to-go bag.
Oh my goodness.
And she listened. She said, can you help me get out, like right now? So I said, okay. Now, I had never done this. I'm the guest preacher at this awesome event in this very large church. This is the first lady.
Wow.
So I called some contacts of mine in law enforcement, quickly and discreetly gave them the situation that I was in, what we needed to do. And actually my friends, they took on friend mode, but they utilized their law enforcement role to help me help her.
Right.
And we escorted her right out the church, and she left.
Wow.
And I said, oh my God. And I had a towel, you know, preachers, especially when you preach with fire. I don't know if any of your parishioners are Pentecostal or Baptist, but you know, you preach. And so I had a towel over my shoulder that I had forgotten that was there. But when I looked at it and I saw her makeup on it, it wasn't mine. It was hers. And the drips of it immersed in tears in the towel. I kept it for a little while, and everybody was saying, do you want me? No. Because what it did, it resonated with me.
Right.
And so about a week later, At the time, I was the head of the women's department at my current church, Perfecting Faith Church, actually. And we were having our own women's meeting. And then after it dissipated, I just started talking to some friends and shared the experience without mentioning any names. And I said, I have not slept right since this event. I got to do something to help people in this demographic.
Right.
She's never gonna go to a therapist. Right. Her role was actually preventing so many barriers. And so as a result of that moment, that compelled me to develop Women Intended for Excellence. And from that experience, I coined the phrase, we are designed to help the up and out.
The up and out.
The up and out. When people have, they are addicted to a substance, alcohol, whatever it is, right? We're not saying, oh, well, we know they have a lot of issues. That's not really what we mean to say. But sometimes people in that category, they have very obvious manifestations of whatever is harming them internally. Right. So there are a litany of places where they can readily go that they have access, to get support, regardless of their economic status in many, especially in urban environments.
Right.
But when you're talking about the professional woman,
interesting,
the first lady, the lawyer, the teacher, the doctor, who is a public success and a private mess, where do they go?
Where do they go?
And if they are in a leadership capacity, particularly in the church community, anybody goes to church, we know how that is, right? Where are they going to go where they can feel safe and it's not going to be used against them or the persons that are connected to them in any form or fashion? So that was really how W.I.F.E started. Wow. And because of the demographic, for years I've worked underground for confidentiality. There was no data for a grant. I'm doing this on my own time, my own money, because I had to protect the constituents that I had created the organization to assist, to serve. However, COVID blew a hole in all of that. Now everybody's talking about trauma.
Yes, absolutely.
Everybody, and it's real.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
So the silver lining from COVID is that though it was a terrible time, the pandemic and the lockdown, the silver lining is that it has also helped to kind of take the stigma.
The stigma, right,
yes,
absolutely.
From out of talking about some of the internal pain and the conflicts that we suffer that manifest in sometimes our everyday actions. And so now I really feel like, though this was incorporated in 2014, I really feel like I'm just getting started.
Right, absolutely. Now you can really dig in and do the work for sure. So that is great. That the testimony of someone coming, you're there talking, but that's the importance of sharing. That's right. That's the importance of giving that information to people because they can use it. Sometimes they don't even know it, but that's God right there for sure.
That's right. That's right.
So January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month.
Yes.
And there is a prevalence of human trafficking, not just nationally, but on Long Island. Oh, yes. These statistics are alarming.
Yes.
Share a little bit about that and why you're an advocate for spreading awareness around that topic.
Yes.
What's happening?
Well, initially, I was just dealing with the pain of women who had been raped or had been sexually abused. But as you have eloquently said, with the emergence of the awareness of human trafficking, many people who are trafficked are then raped or are also, I would say, easily trafficked because of the ACEs, the adverse, childhood experiences in their lives. One of them usually and often being sexual abuse. Not exclusively, but often.
Wow.
So at this point, Women Intended for Excellence is now segueing. We are in transition to address this as an umbrella issue, and then we will then deal with all of the other related social ills that come usually with people who are trafficked. And so in January of this year, I was really honored to host the very first human trafficking symposium for Nassau County. It was on January 9th. And I worked along with our legislator, Seth Koslow, and his team to really have a wonderful symposium. It was very successful. Some people, it was already aired on aspects of it on Channel 12.
Right.
But the information was just incredibly alarming to the audience.
So what are some of the statistics related to
Yes.
human trafficking on Long Island? I think
Yes.
Long Island is in the nation is one of the
Top.
right
Yes.
places where this is happening.
Yes.
So what are some of the statistics with that?
Well, worldwide, there are almost 28 million trafficked people.
Wow.
The exact number is 27.6 as of the statistics that we have from 2021.
Okay.
I'm sure it's higher,
Right.
And now in 2025. With that, New York ranks 4.
Wow.
And then within New York State, Long Island has very high reported incidents. And one of the reasons, it's not really formalized, but what many people feel is though while New York City also has a lot of trafficked victims, Long Island seems to exceed the city of New York because of the demographics and the geography.
Okay.
We are an island surrounded by water, and that makes it very easy for a predator to want to traffic. In addition, another distinguishing factor is that in the city, there are designated areas where they are known to be high crime-ridden areas. So the traffickers can just go and just kind of blend right into those certain strips. And it's known and it's out there.
Right.
And unfortunately, still the old term prostitution is still utilized. And many of these people that have been labeled as prostitutes are actually not, or they're not sex workers. They are victims of human trafficking.
Wow.
Right? However, for the reasons that I forestated in Long Island, our image contributes to the problem.
Because it's not happening here.
Oh no,
Right.
never in my neighborhood.
Right.
And there are no prevalent streets where you're going to
I
see.
So it's kind of all
It's
over.
hidden. It's correct.
Hidden, but all over.
That's correct. And it's right in front of us. Our eyes are wide shut.
Wow.
And so it's prevalent. And in 2020, Nassau County had the highest reported incidents of human trafficking between the two counties. But since then, Suffolk, and it's also a larger county,
Right.
has exceeded Nassau counties. But the fact that we are talking about Long Island and human trafficking at these alarming rates is really mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And there are 3 categories of human trafficking.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what does it look like, and what does it mean, and how can we identify it?
Absolutely. So first, the 3 labels are sex trafficking, labor trafficking, and now there's something emerging called organ trafficking. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. That tends to be, like, it's growing here in the United States, but it's more prevalent internationally, particularly in certain parts of Africa and Asia that we know. But human trafficking is so problematic in general. But here on Long Island, we have the highest incidence of sex trafficking and labor trafficking.
Okay.
So how it looks, so first, labor trafficking. The highest incidents that have been documented by law enforcement and also the Long Island Safe Center and other nonprofits that's heavily involved in mitigating this issue have reported that it takes place in nail salons, massage parlors, places where people can quickly get employment. And they are told, oftentimes we go in, we get our nails done, right? You cannot tell the difference between an employee or a person that thinks they owe their trafficker, which could be the owner of that particular salon, that they have to pay off a debt, because this is oftentimes what they are told. They get their papers as if they are coming into the country as an immigrant. Oftentimes is that the trafficker will withhold their documents or take their documents and say, you're not even here legally, or you can't prove that you're here legally. So you're going to have to work for me for XYZ amount of weeks, months, and usually ends up being years. And then it becomes far more pervasive. It usually leads to sex trafficking, or, it depends.
Takes on different forms.
It takes on different forms. And the person now is very scared. And then psychologically, sometimes what then sets in, the more time that trafficked individual spends with that predator, Stockholm syndrome sets in. So they don't report it. And they end up becoming very protective, in many cases, not all, of the person that's abusive.
Wow. So this is an amazing conversation, and I understand why you had a symposium. Because there's so many different aspects of it.
Absolutely.
But before I let you go, you are also an author. I want you to share how people can get in touch with you, but I also wanted to mention your book. You wrote a book called I'm Married, but I Feel Like I'm Single. 5 Steps to Successfully Navigate a Painful Divorce. So where can people purchase your book? And then I also want you to let people know, how can they reach out to you to get more information about the epidemic of human trafficking?
Certainly. So the book just was based on my first marriage. I just need to clear that up for anybody who is watching. It's not relative to my current husband, those that may know him. I went through a very painful divorce. But prior to actually going through the divorce, I spent we were married for almost 19 years, and 10 of those years I lived like a single woman. So I wrote the book. I also had a lot of trauma in my life. So though I was never trafficked, I can relate to people who have lived in long-term complex trauma. And my book reflects that, and how I was even, I missed a lot of the red flags even to be in that type of relationship. And so subsequently, I wrote the book after I got remarried to my second husband, whom I love very much, and he loves me. But that's very ironic. And so the book is available on Amazon. They could just type in I'm married, but I feel like I'm single, Google it, and the book is available.
And how can people, you can look in this camera here, let people know how they can stay connected with you and keep in touch to find out more about this epidemic that we were talking about.
So you can stay in touch with me. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook at Dr. Pepper Martin. And if you Google me, I have a presence on Google, but the best way to reach me would be through Instagram or Facebook. Again, that's at Dr. Pepper Martin.
Thank you so much, Dr. Martin. It has been a pleasure speaking with you and really shining a light on this issue that we all need to really be aware of and know the signs and just try to get help for people that are going through this. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Conversations with Verdel Jones, empowering your passion with purpose. I hope today's conversation left you inspired, informed, and ready to take action toward your goals. If this episode sparks something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, pass it, and keep the cycle of learning and growing alive. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share so you will never miss an episode. And remember, in the words of Maya Angelou, when you learn, teach, and when you get, give. We'll see you next time.